Hello, good afternoon. Time is 12 p.m. We're here at Student Activity Complex, Fine Arts Building, Room 1. Today is Tuesday, February 11th, 2020, and I'm calling the Instructional Committee meeting to order. Present, we have Mr. Molina, Mr. Gilpin, myself, Mr. Valles. Any public comments?
Alex?
No,
sir.
public comments. Okay. Move on to item 2, listed items, action items to be reviewed. Item 1, approval of CTE Innovative State Course, Occupational Safety and Environmental Technology 1.
Good afternoon, Mr. Gilpin, Mr. Vélez, Mr. Molina, Mr. Santos, and members of the audience. On behalf of Angie Sanchez, the Director of CTE, the CTE Department is requesting board approval to allow UISD to offer the following state innovative course at all high schools beginning in the 2020-2021 school year. Innovative courses are approved by the State Board of Education to meet certain endorsement requirements. The course will be offered as an additional CTE state elective credit only. With board approval, districts may offer the state-approved innovative course for state elective credit only. The course is Occupational Safety and Environmental Technology. You'll notice the PIM number begins with an N, which means innovative course. So the students will investigate the field of occupational safety and health administration and environmental technology, which is charged with the task of ensuring that business and industry provide a safe workplace, free from hazards and bringing about a reduction in the occurrence of job-related injuries and fatalities. The course will allow students an opportunity to earn the OSHA 30 General Industry Certification, which will provide them with an edge in obtaining the knowledge of workplace and job safety as they enter the workforce. In addition, successful completion of the OSHA 30 General Industry Certification allows high school campuses to earn the CCMR point, which is College and Career Military Readiness Point, per student for state accountability purposes. That is under the student achievement domain, and that pretty much indicates to the state that the student is industry ready. So with your permission, sir, we could approve the course.
Definitely. Quick question. Would we already have the teachers in place? Are we using the
Yes,
same
sir.
teachers? The
The-
qualified?
Ms. Sanchez is already, yeah. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Item 2, approval of additional class size waivers for the 2019-2020 school year.
Good afternoon, Mr. Vélez, members of the board, members of the audience. We bring 2 additional class size waivers for Muller Elementary School. That brings our total to date for 1920 school year to 32. That was not changed at the bottom. Is 1 waiver in 1st grade and 1 waiver in 4th grade. Right.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 3, approval of full-day pre-kindergarten exemption waiver.
Mr. Vélez and members of the board, the district is presenting a full-day pre-kinder exemption waiver. And basically what the state is asking us is that by 22-23, full-day pre-kinder would have to be provided for all eligible 4-year-old students in their district. And the manner in which 4-year-old students would qualify for our pre-kinder program is economically disadvantaged, a parent of a active military individual, your foster, your homeless, or your limited English proficient, all right? That is a criteria that we would have to, that we utilize currently and that we will continue to utilize for pre-kinder services. The exemption condition, though, the state is bringing out this particular waiver, which starts now for the 1920 school year. This is year 1. The state is saying you have 2 options. You can propose a waiver can be granted if you would need to be required to construct classroom, repurpose or lease a classroom facility, or issue bonds for the construction or repurposing of a classroom facility. All right, that's number 1. The second one is the implementation of a full-day program would result in fewer eligible children being enrolled. And we don't foresee that happening. It's on the contrary, in our eyes, that once we expand full-day pre-kinder, that the numbers would probably increase in that sense. So the waiver exemption, the condition that we're looking at is that we have to repurpose classrooms. And what I mean by that, we may have some campuses that may not have the facilities to house all of the full-day pre-kinder programs. So we have a plan that we have developed, and I'd like to share that with you, and that has to go for the waiver process in the exemption. We cannot request an exemption unless the district has solicited and considered at a public meeting the following. We had to ask for a partnership program with a public or private entity. Right now, we are partnered with Head Start, all right? But the Head Start program partnership that we have is not to be housed at their facilities. Actually, they come into our facilities. And that's been a really, really strong partnership that we have because they pay for $25,000 a teacher salary. They pay for their teacher aide. In addition to that, Head Start also brings in a new third person in there. So the ratio in a Head Start classroom is a 20 students to 3 adults in that particular classroom. And so we went out for proposals as required by the state. We looked, it was just an informal process that we utilized. We published in the Laredo Morning Times, we posted on our website on January 16th throughout that week, and we advised all child care providers and early learning centers, anybody who showed an interest in meeting a full-day program for us, that we would actually have to pay them because they would take our ADA. But we have certain criteria, and we were told by the state that we could set the criteria the same way we have right now. We're asking for ratios. We're asking for teacher education certifications. We asked for different components as to what time, the hours of operation, and so forth. And of course, if they met all of the TEA required program services that they would actually have for our pre-kinder students. So bottom line, we had 2 individuals who showed up at the conference, but nobody submitted a proposal. So none were received. So we move forward with the exemption process, right? The next slide shows that we have 14 full-day pre-kindergarten programs, and we have 16 schools with half-day programs. And so we're looking at expanding our full-day opportunities for our students as required by law. When you look at it, at the next slide, year 1, 2019-20 school year, which is year 1 of exemption, which is now, because the state required us to implement full-day pre-kinder as of September the 1st. We had to gather all the data which showed the number of additional classrooms that would be needed. We held a public meeting to solicit proposals, which we did, and then of course, we would consider the proposals, which we did not receive. So we moved forward on that particular waiver. We are asking for a 3-year waiver. That is a maximum that the state will give us as of now, this current cycle. So 2021 school year, we're looking at year 2 of exemption. We will hold another public meeting to solicit additional partnerships or proposals. And then it says to begin providing at least full day to some eligible 4-year-old children through at least 1 partnership or at least 1 constructed, repurposed, or leased classroom. So we're going with option B, where we are expanding our current offerings to our pre-kinder students. Then the same thing would happen 21-22 school year, and the state says by 22-23, everybody has to be full day. But they have a little caveat there. The district may apply for an exemption renewal if unable to offer full-day pre-kinder for all, and that's renewed only once. However, at this point, we do not know if that waiver is going to be for 1 year or an additional 3 years. So on the chart there, you see the plan of action that we are proposing. Starting this August 2021 school year, we've already spoken to the principals. You're looking at cluster sites. And the reason that we're looking at cluster sites is because it meets, it's a little bit more feasible economically to do that. And number 2, it is difficult for Head Start to expand the services at all of our sites. So when we do cluster sites, it's worked at Newman, that is our trial area, where we have Newman, Gutierrez, and Clark Elementary, and Newman Elementary services all those particular campuses. So for the following school year, we are proposing that Killam students will attend Cuellar Elementary for a full-day program, with also through Head Start. Bonnie Garcia students will attend Zaffarini Elementary. Those 2 other campuses, Killam and Bonnie, will no longer offer programs, pre-kindergarten program in their schools. The following year, you're looking at 21-22. You're looking at Salinas Elementary and Ruiz Elementary as well, where your cluster site, your home site, will be Ruiz Elementary. We have twofold for this. Not only we're looking at expansion partnership services for Head Start as well, but in addition to that, Salinas is growing, and we'll have to soon be adding probably portable campuses, portable buildings into that campus if we do not move on this action, which is not driving it, but it's a consideration for that. Year 4, which is 22-23, which the state says this is a year that everybody should be on full day. We know that we're not going to be able to do so. So we're looking at clustering Finley and Kazin at Kazin Elementary. They have additional classroom space there. Fasken is still on our radar because we may cluster those 3 particular sites. Muller will be a standalone because of the location and the distance. Nye will probably cluster at Trotman. Borchers, Matias, and Malakoff will cluster at Malakoff. And Elementary 30 will be the host site for San Isidro and Colonel Santos Benavides Elementary Schools. So we are requesting your approval of the full-day pre-kinder exemption waiver. When you looked at bottom line, the number of teachers that would be needed, if we do not cluster, I believe it was a number of about 43 classrooms. And then every pre-kinder classroom comes in with a teacher aide.
Right.
And then, of course, our supplies and equipment that would have to be provided as well. So this is where we're going with a phase-in plan, so that we can meet the letter of the law from House Bill 3, but at a slower pace.
We're moving towards it.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, we have to meet the
Requirements,
what's
yes,
been
sir.
set by the state, so. Do you foresee that eventually we're gonna have a program at each school? Or that's probably gonna be,
When we looked at it, sir, and we're trying to maximize the number of the teachers, basically.
Right.
And the services they can provide. So when you look at Finley Elementary and Kazin Elementary, who are really, really small campuses, and when you cluster, you could probably, not necessarily in this case, but you could probably lose a teacher. So when you have 14, 15 kids, that could probably happen. So that's why we are looking at the
right.
cluster sites.
Let me ask you this, the mandate right now for 3 years down the road is that we offer the program, it doesn't specify that we have to offer at each
Correct, sir.
campus.
It's just that it is eligible for all, that it's offered to all students.
To everybody.
How many campuses are covered right now for this program?
Full day, sir? 14.
The campuses, like, how many schools are, just, you know, of the,
Have full day pre-kinder?
like, well, they're gonna offer the full kindergarten?
14.
They have had day ahorita, or?
No, 14 schools have full day. All of the LBJ feeder has full day. We are moving towards, the plan is, the next phase would be the feeder pattern for United South High School would be complete. That's where we're going with Bonnie and Killam. And then Ruiz and Salinas would be the last two schools in that South High School feeder.
It'll help a lot the parents, you know, that they have to pay extra, you know, because they just go half a day, like some before, and then they have to pay. So
Correct.
that's
Daycare.
gonna cover, that's gonna be pretty good. Thank you.
Additional questions?
So I just want to make sure I understand the chart. So year 1 waiver, and then year 2, that's the game plan for year 2.
Yes, sir.
It involves 4 schools, and that's 2 of them in red or
The host sites.
the what? The host
The
sites?
host, yes.
And is it also indicative, there's a little mismatch on the description at the far right where it says, well, the first one is 3 classrooms needed, 2 are available.
Yes,
So
sir.
there's a bus there of 1 classroom at this
Yes, sir.
time?
We need to show the state that it is a facility issue, that we would have to repurpose classrooms. So that's what we'd have to show. That's why that language is in there.
So like the next one down, Zaffarini Elementary School has a note, says 4 needed, and it also says 4 available, so there's not a problem there.
Correct, sir.
Gotcha. But all the rest of them seem to be off by 1 or 2 classrooms.
Correct. And looking at probably at Ruiz Elementary, some facilities there would have to be expanded as well. So that will take a while to do.
This is something that we submit as far as an exemption is, and
Yes,
the
sir.
state response to.
It's due early March, sir. So this is why we bring in in mid-February, so we can meet the timeline and the requirements. And there's no extension of that, so we want to meet the requirements because this is our only shot.
Okay.
I don't see any of the South schools on there.
When you look at the other chart, sir, if you bring it down to
Oh, I think I saw Salinas
the full-day pre-kinder.
on there, but I didn't see none of the others,
Keep on going, I'm sorry.
like our elementary.
The other way, up, I'm sorry.
Like Kenny Zapata, you know,
Yes, sir. Let me show
Juarez
you.
Lincoln, you know, all those.
This one, sir.
Right there.
Everything in black is your full day.
Prada.
Everything in black is,
Okay.
yes, sir.
Yeah. All
The
of them are full
the red
day.
ones are your half-day programs, which we are looking to
Okay.
cluster and expand.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 4, approval of expedited state waiver in the area of staff development.
We are bringing another waiver for the staff development days in lieu of instruction. I may have to take out a day, so we'll, if anything, we'll take out February 22nd. And these are set for professional development days for our teaching staff, all right? And so we are looking at that to submit, again, also to the state for approval.
Item 5, approve application for expedited state waiver for accelerated instruction after Third Star Administration for Student Success Initiative.
The state requires that students in 5th and 8th grade who do not master the assessment, the STAR proficiency assessment, that we would have to accelerate their instruction. But because the third assessment is so late in the year, it's early May, we do not get results until the latter part, and then they go to summer school and so forth. So we have to accelerate their instruction the first 6 weeks of each school year, all right? And so there's a plan in place that instruction has worked on. And so those particular students who still are promoted or retained, we still have to accelerate and provide those services to those particular students, 5th and 8th grade. GPC committee meets. They'll determine by unanimous decision whether are they going to be promoted or not. But we have to look at that instruction during those first 6 weeks. Since we finish summer school, results come in later on, and right before school starts, that's when we get results and find out whether they mastered it or not master the third attempt of this
This is
assessment.
after the third time, so there's only going to be a handful of students? Or
It usually is.
The numbers pretty much dwindle by that time, sir.
Okay,
But our campus have been doing this, so, you know, they go to 10-to-1 ratio and
right. All right, no problem. Item 6, approve of expedited state waiver for teacher data portal of the Texas Assessment Management System.
The state requires that we have a teacher portal component from the Texas Assessment Management System. We don't use that system, we use DMAC, all right? And that is an acceptable process. And basically, it is something that is accessible to all teachers in the core subject areas, reading, English, language arts, math, science, and social studies. And really what it allows teachers to view all of the student data, all right, to make decisions, educational decision on each student. This is a waiver that we've applied for before, but it's up for renewal, and they renew it also for the following 3 years, 2021, 21-22, and 22-23.
Well, we just state that we use a separate system
Yes, sir.
for that information.
Basically, we
Okay.
use DMAC, which
Okay.
has been our process.
Item 7, approve additional appraisers for the 2019-2020 school year.
Yeah, I'm on.
Thank you, Mom.
Good afternoon. My name is David Garcia. I work in human resources. Gentlemen, this afternoon we bring before you a listing of assistant principals that have been selected for vacancies in the district. These individuals also need to come before you as appraisers and in order to comply with policy and state law, because they're going to assist with the evaluation of teachers in the classroom, then we need to come before you for your consideration and hopefully with approval that they become part of the appraisal list, the appraiser list in the district. This is something that we're required to do on an annual basis. Whenever there are these type of administrative changes, we come before you to amend the listing and ask that they be placed on the appraisal list.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Items, Section B, items we reviewed by the Instructional Committee for information only. 1, Star Scholarship Fund partnership with UISD, new partners for scholars lottery system.
Good
afternoon.
afternoon, Mr. Valise, Mr. Gilpin, Mr. Molina, and members of the audience. We're very excited that the STAR Scholarship Program wanted to partner with United ISD's Partners for Scholars. And so what they've done is they've set aside $50,000 to match $50,000 of United Partners for Scholars. So when the students are eligible and receive a $1,000 scholarship from United ISD, STARS will match it, and so they'll actually be getting $2,000. So it's a really good partnership for our students, and it expands the amount of money available to our students. Now, since it's only only $50,000, we have additional funds because we fundraise for our Partners for Scholars, and that will remain at $1,000 for students. However, we're going to use a new system, which is a lottery system, to identify the Partners for Scholars that will be eligible for that will be receiving the $1,000 scholarship. So let me give you a little bit about the STARS eligibility criteria. The students must have earned or completed 12 undergraduate college hours or AP course credits. They have to have a minimum GPA of a 2.7 on a 4-point scale in their college coursework. They must have completed the high school diploma criteria prior to the fall of 2020. They must be a U.S. citizen or have legal permanent residency, and they must be enrolled in a U.S. accredited 2-year degree program or a 4-year university undergraduate program. So that basically is based on merit, based on how the students are doing academically. Now, our counselors are already communicating with our students about the process because we do have a deadline of March 31st, 2020. The personnel from STARS, they're going to be tracking the applicants, and they're going to be making the decision on who merits a scholarship. And then our UISD high school counselors will assist our students also in accessing the STARS application and in filling out the information that they have. Once STARS select the students, the 50 students that we're going to be receiving both scholarships, we will be notified by April 17th so that we can in turn select our students for the remaining of our Partners for Scholars funds. So that brings me to the new selection process. All students that are not awarded a STAR scholarship will have an opportunity to receive a $1,000 scholarship from the Partners for Scholars from the remaining funds. They will submit their application via a Google form, so we're going to be emailing it to all seniors. And then every campus is going to have a system to draw the student's name at random. So as long as they are meeting graduation requirements by the end of this year, they will be eligible to receive that, and they are enrolled in an institute of higher education, they'll be eligible to receive that, those funds. Again, we're going to close that application process on March 31st so that we'll have our information for the high schools to be ready to select after April 17th. I think there's one.
Okay. I think it's a great opportunity for our students. Let me ask you this, so going back to the matching amount, so they
Right.
have to already be enrolled in the degree program by March 31st?
Well, actually, because we don't release the funds in the summer, the funds are actually released in the name of the student and the university or college that they are going to be enrolled for the fall. So the funds are not released to the student individually. It's the Institute of Higher Education. That way we make sure that they are enrolled, and then they can use the money for tuition, books, whatever it is that they choose to.
Is this program going to be in every school or?
It's going to be, when the partnership with STARS is going to be divided evenly amongst the 4 high schools. So there'll be about 12 recipients per high school. And then the remaining funds of the Partners for Scholars, because it's employee contribution, sometimes the employees say, I want my contribution to go to a particular high school. So that's going to depend on the funds, and Business and Finance always works with us to let us know exactly how many funds are available for each of the high schools. And then the scholarships will be determined based on the number of $1,000 scholarships that we can provide for the students. But we're excited about this partnership because it gives us, our students, a little bit more of an edge as they're venturing out into.
Just share with the board that on the STARS scholarship, it is now funded by the La Mantilla family.
Okay.
Used to be a national
Right.
organization, now they've taken it as a family.
Mhm.
And they're the ones that really approached us, and I think it's really a win-win for our students. So working with Steve La Mantilla, and I know Ms. Rendon is working with the ladies that run the organization, but it's through the La Mantilla family. They raise the funds and they match the funds for our kids.
Pretty good.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 2, Fall 2019 end of course results in comparison to Region 1 in the state, and recap of midwinter presentation on instructional and accountability system.
Good afternoon, Mr. Williams, Molina, Mr. Gilbert Santos, and members of the audience. This afternoon, we bring very positive data to you. As you know, our high school students start testing their courses twice a year, in December and also in the spring. So we look at our verified first-time testers in English 1. We look at United, they have a 3% increase from this time last year. United South had the biggest, actually United South had a 4% increase. We had 6% increase in Alexander, 7% in OBJ. And actually United High School, had 13% jump. They had the biggest. Looking at our English 2 first-time testers, we look at United with a 5% increase. United South, 17% increase from this time last year. 4% Alexander going up, and 11% LBJ. First-time testers in Algebra 1, we have an increase, 8% in United South, and we had another 8% in OBJ. Now, we look at United, last year they were 90%. They don't have a lot of big wiggle room to go up, so they're still in the 90 percentile. Same thing with Alexander at 99%, which is phenomenal considering demographics we're working with. When we look at biology first-time testers, as you know, their schools are in the 90s already. But I'd like to point out Lyndon B. Johnson High School. They have a 16% increase from this time last year, which is phenomenal as well. And finally, our U.S. history. We look at across the board, they're all 90 percentile. This is really exciting news for our students, and obviously the great work that our teachers, administrators at our campus have been doing. So now we look at a little comparison. And of course, at all testers, so not only the first-time testers, but also the retesters. So we look at compare how we do with the region, the state, and we look at the approaches numbers. We look at the meets. We're already at 49% in English 1 compared to the region at 22, the state at 11. We look at meets, English 2, we're already at 48%, again, ahead of the region, the state. We look at Algebra 1, 80%. We look at the state is at 12. It's for all students. All students testing for the course. We look at biology. United ISD at 71% in meets compared to the region 39, the state at 16. U.S. history 74%. Again, these are all testers, 52% in the region and 39%. And again, it's a combination of a united effort with our campuses and obviously support we get from you and obviously leadership from Mr. Santos. And finally, I'd like to just present from our instruction department, along with Federal Programs Becky Morales, where we presented this past January at our midwinter conference on the systems we have in place to be successful as an 8 district. And we've got a lot of response from districts across the state to come and visit us. One of them, and I shared with the principals earlier this morning, is Socorro ISD from El Paso. And that's a district that was the HEB Excellence and Education winner. So they're going to come visit us, just FYI.
Okay.
So it's good news to us.
I was looking at LBJ, like in English, 5566, and then you go to the algebra, 8593, biology, 7793. You know, all the other 3 high schools are pretty level except LBJ. What's the problem there?
We don't look at it as a problem, sir. We look at these as opportunities, but I think we need to focus on the fact that we're growing. And I think what's also happened is teachers are now staying there at the campus, working with Mr. Salazar. So it's more of a positive. We like to look at the positive side on it. Are our students being successful? Yes. Are we there at the level of some of our other campus? Not yet, but that's a work in progress. And that's with our department. We work hand in hand with all our campuses, specifically at OBJ. I know Ms. Barra is there with her team once a month. So we're working with all our campuses, specifically with OBJ as well.
You make
David, share with-
support so they can raise the,
Absolutely, sir.
David,
So we
share
make-
with the board how close South and OBJ are really to get into an A.
Right. When we look at
Good
last
rating.
year's data, Mr. Molina, we had LBJ at an 87% last year, overall grade. So the right neck and neck, and we have United South at an 88 last year. So we're forecasting that we're looking at all our four high schools to be an A this year. That's what we're forecasting.
I remember when, in 96, you know, the schools in Rio Bravo and everything, we put, we brought some master teachers, we brought some, and that's how our school went up. They're doing pretty well now. I was just wondering, the help you're gonna give LBJ to bring up to, all the,
Absolutely.
up to
And I will share with Mr. Molina, this is only part of the formula to get the A. Our STAR scores, we look at all our data that is comprised to get our A, but they're an 87 last year, and again, we're forecasting that LBJ should be an A this coming year with all the growth we're having,
I'd like to see that. Thank you.
okay?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Final item, item 3, proposed boundary changes for various campuses effective 2020-2021 school year.
Members of the board, Mr. Santos, members of the audience, we're bringing before you a boundary change that we actually presented last year. We just decided not to go forward because it had an impact on staffing. But a year later, we realized that we probably needed to do it. Some of the numbers didn't arrive in Roosevelt's case. And this also allows for us to avoid possibly looking at portables at Veterans Elementary School. So by doing this, it buys us at least a couple of years and maybe looking at some future boundary changes. So this impact is between Roosevelt and Veterans Memorial. It's a small area of about 63 students that will be impacted. The maps are located in your presentation, your information, which shows the current boundaries between Roosevelt and Veterans. It shows the proposed change, which would be the next slide. That small section there, and then it shows the final, once we meet with the parents, which we're scheduled to meet with them at the end of this month, and then bring back the recommendation to the board for final approval in the March board meeting. Also, for your information, I provided a hard copy of the changes that were done in December of 2017 between Troutman Middle School and now what's going to be Herrera Middle School, which is 8800 McPherson, the impact that it also had for the high school between United and Alexander. Effectively, Shiloh now becomes the boundary between United and Alexander. So those students that reside south of Shiloh will now be attending Alexander. Those students that reside north of Shiloh will continue to attend United High School. Back in 2017, we started this process early because we knew it was going to have a big impact. We presented to the board in August of 2017, and December was officially approved. Those particular students at that time were sixth graders, letting them know that come your 8th grade year, your freshman year, you're going to be at Alexander. So we've continued that process. We sent out letters last year to the 7th graders, which are now 8th graders this year, letting them know that as a freshman, you're going to be Alexander. So we've given them a pretty good window of information, letting them know about the change. We will be meeting with those parents again, just to remind them face-to-face of what the changes are, and letting individuals know what the 2 different middle school locations will be as well. Of course, we did have a change. Troutman was supposed to be at 800 McPherson, so there was some confusion there as well, but we've cleared that up. And then, of course, we'll be meeting with the parents face-to-face.
I still anticipate some pushback
Absolutely.
on that.
Absolutely.
So even with 2 or 3 years of time. Going back to this one, it will alleviate the veterans right now, right?
Yes, sir. It buys us at least a couple years.
Right.
Had we not made the change, then we would probably consider a portable building or 2 for Veterans Memorial for the upcoming year. But this allows us to be able to make that adjustment and free up some space for them.
So all that section is now, there's no students going to be further away from the school, right? Because we had that small batch of students and going all the way to veterans.
That's correct. They were probably being bused. They are being bused. So they would now become walkers. So we would also alleviate some of our transportation situation that we have there.
Right.
So that actually assists us in that aspect as well.
Sounds good. Appreciate the
Thank you.
information, sir. All right, with that, we'll move to adjournment, 12:34.